Welcome to Conversations with the Black Girl Blogger podcast, where you will hear amazing human interest stories from everyday people. They will inspire you, they will encourage you, and they will help you to overcome all of what you are going through in your life. I am your host, Aisha Morgan, and let's meet today's guest. All right, so today we are here with my very good friend, Tabitha. And we're going to be talking about a couple of topics today. I know Tabitha from high school. I wanted her to come on the show today to kind of talk about some of the things that are going on in her life. So I'm going to let Tabitha introduce herself, and then we're going to get right into our topic.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tabitha. I'm 43. I'm a single mom of a pretty cool son with who happens to be on the autism spectrum. So I guess that's why I'm here.
All right. So today we are going to be talking about raising a child with special needs, specifically as a single parent. So I know that there are lots of people out there. You either may know someone or have a family member or your own child who is on the autism spectrum. And if you have been listening to any of my podcasts or read my blog, you know that my background is education, specifically focused on children on the autism spectrum. So I'm glad that Tabitha is here to kind of get the other side and the other perspective. So Tabitha, why don't you tell me, how did you find out or know that your son was on the autism spectrum?
So early on, he was about 2. We went for his 2-year-old checkup, and his pediatrician, who is a wonderful doctor, by the way, was asking me about some developmental milestones and his talking or lack thereof. And I explained to her, he really hasn't said a whole lot in quite some time. At that time, it had been like a few months. Okay. And I, not knowing what it was, I wasn't alarmed because, this is my only child, so I had no other reference point. So I rely on the experts, and she let me know at that point that I might want to look into early intervention, just to see if we can work on, some of his language barriers.
Okay, so before this point, had he been talking or making any sounds or anything, or was this like pretty consistent?
He had been talking. He was, I think, an early talker. Channing was about 1, maybe a little younger than 1, and he would always be like, hello, thank you, you're welcome, especially if, you were interacting with him in that way. I remember one time my brother came home to visit, and they were just back and forth, you're welcome, thank you, you're welcome, thank you. But the last thing I remember him saying clearly, I had taken him out of a bath, and he looked at me and he said, I'm cold. And really, that's probably the last thing he said. Okay.
So explain the process of early intervention.
So first, it's very important that parents do their checkups for the children according to the schedule. So if you have your 3-month appointment, your 6-month appointment, so you got to stick to the schedule. And I think that's why I was able to get ahead of it with getting the early intervention. So that's the first part. You need to go see your child's pediatrician and talk about the developmental milestones, because in some instances you may need a referral or some type of prescription to give to an early intervention provider. So in this instance, I did need that. So she did give us a referral for early intervention, and we actually got hooked up through the local hospital system here. Okay. Where a speech therapist and an occupational therapist came out to the home. And that was like the best thing about early intervention, is that it was in his surrounding, around his things, around the people he knew. And it was a nice, easy process.
Good. Yeah. I love early intervention. I know a lot of people who are providers for early intervention and actually prefer it because of that. Like the kids are in their own surroundings. You get more out of them when they're comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah, when they're comfortable.
Yes.
So, how do you feel early intervention helped him, or do you even feel that it helped him when he was going?
I do feel that it helps him in a couple of ways. So it helped me recognize some things that I should be looking for, as far as like making sure I'm making eye contact, but I'm also receiving eye contact. Being verbal myself instead of just going through the motions with him, saying everything that I'm doing, because, him hearing language helps him with his own language. So that was very helpful, just taking ordinary little things and trying to make them into something he could learn about, that he want to talk about or be excited about. So it was very helpful, and just the simple things that we could do that could turn into like a way to get language from him, like a puzzle or blowing bubbles. That was like one of the first things he said in early intervention was bubbles. And so blowing bubbles all the time, bubbles, bubbles. I'm like, great. So that was like a jumping point to get more language out of him. So early intervention was definitely worth it.
Yes. And I think that everything that you said is spot on. Like, I know there are people who we're not talking about vaccines. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about going to your doctor so that your doctor can see how your child is developing.
Absolutely.
And it is important that when they say, okay, we'll see you at your next appointment, that you schedule it, because especially when you are a parent of a single child, meaning like you only have one child, you tend to do things for them and you don't realize that you're doing it, including talking for them.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
yeah, and so you don't really realize it. Even kids that have older siblings, sometimes the sibling talks for them. And so you don't really pay attention to the fact that they're not doing things that they should be doing because everybody else is doing it for them.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so when you go to your doctor and they ask you these questions, it really does make you think like, wait, does he ask for something to drink, or do we just give him something to drink? Like, does he ask to go to the bathroom, or do we just take him because we feel like he hasn't gone in a while? So it is very important, as Tabitha said, to make sure that you are going through those checkups. And so after early intervention, what was the next step in his process?
So once early intervention was completed, meaning he aged out of early intervention, which is 3 here where we live, he was eligible to attend preschool in our local school district. So early intervention helped us through the process of getting him enrolled in preschool. He had an IEP meeting, met with the school district social worker who came out to the house. Like, everything is made for the convenience of the family. Mm-hmm. Folks actually came to you. You didn't have to do all this traveling to find resources to find who you need to talk to, which was fantastic. So we got him into preschool. So when he turned 3, it was April. So here in New Jersey, school ends in May. So he only had about a month and a half, maybe, of school. He attended school around the corner. And so another program they had was a extended school year program. And initially, students who first come in aren't eligible for the early extended school year program, But, as a parent, you have to be like, ask the question, why? why isn't he eligible? How do you go to school for a month and a half, then off for 3 months and expect to carry that learning over the summer? There's always like a learning loss. Even when we went to school, went back to school, like I don't remember how to do algebra. So, I had to advocate for my son that this is something that he needed. He needed to be in this extended school year program. He's still learning how to go to school. He's still learning what that is. And I didn't want him to have to start all over in September. So that's where we went after early intervention, was that extended school year program.
Okay. So just 2 things I wanted to point out. So Tabitha talked about him having an IEP meeting. That is an individualized education plan. And what it is a group of people who are all a part of his team. So it would be Tabitha and his teacher, a social worker. It could be the principal of the school. It could be the school psychologist. It could be a variety of people in this meeting. And during the meeting, you are discussing what are the goals that you would like for your child to achieve by a certain point. And the goal is that everyone in the meeting, the team, come up with a consensus of what they're going to do for him that year and then the following year. One of the other things that I want to point out is Tabitha saying that she advocated for him to have the extended school year. You are your kid's biggest influence, but you're also their biggest advocate. And
say it again. Yes.
Yes. So there are advocates that you can go out and seek, who are knowledgeable of the process. But I always encourage parents to speak up as well. Just because you don't know the technicalities of what some of the people are talking about, you know your kid. You know what they need. You know what has helped them progress. And you know what has helped them regress. So you want to make sure that you are on top of the paperwork. You're on top of the progress that they're making. So that if you do go to these meetings, or when you go to these meetings, that your voice matters. So if you have an advocate, I'm just going to tell you, they will take what they say into consideration, but you're the final say as the parent. So it is very important that you speak up.
Yes, that's an excellent point that you made, that you're the final say. You're the captain of the ship. So you need to make sure that this plan that the team is coming up with is falling in line of your child, the child you know. So absolutely.
Yes. And, if you're looking for an advocate, you can always use Google. There are plenty of parent groups where you can find advocates. But like I said, and Tabitha said, like, the parent has the final say no matter who else is in the meeting, because you're the one that signs that paperwork. So he's in preschool. The first preschool that he went to, how did you feel about the program he was in? Did you feel he was making progress? Or did he move to another school? What was happening when he finally did go to school?
So he started off at a school that I actually really liked. I liked the way the school was laid out. I loved the security, how it was set up. And I felt like his classroom was very conducive to like socialization, making friends, how to play, and also learning. Both are very important, and I kind of think one feeds off the other. So it was a very good environment that I thought he was in. The teachers were excellent. They communicated with me thoroughly. They let me know what was going on. So I loved it. So then he transitioned over to the extended school year program, and that's usually housed at one of the schools in the district, and it stays there. The first year I was like, I don't know. I didn't know if there was too much learning going on. It seemed like it was more like a socially based where it's just play all day.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem like there was a lot of skill based things that were occurring. But, I thought it was still important for him to go to be with other children, especially since, he's the only child here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it was important that he had that continuity of, I have a place to be. This is, basically my job. Going to school is my job. And that was important for me. So even though I was a little sketchy on what they had going on over there, I still let him go because it was important that he participate in the program.
Okay. So did he stay there for preschool or did he go to a different school?
He actually ended up staying at that building for preschool. Delago. He was actually, since he started at 3, here where we live, you go to preschool until you're 5. So he went 3 and 4, and then the following year when he turned 5, he was able to go to a different school. But he did stay at the same school for the next couple years, and he was in the same classroom, which I thought was excellent. And even more so, they had the same teacher. So there's this, again, what I like, this continuity, which is so important for him. I've learned that structure and maintaining a balance and schedules, it helps him so much more with the anxiety that he feels about when things are different or they change suddenly. So that was something I was like, wow, okay, this is pretty good. And just shout out to that classroom aide that he had there. She was like a knight in shining armor. She would pick up on things that I wouldn't see necessarily because we weren't together during the day. And she would share that information like, Shannon, he likes to run off. I'm like, yeah, I know. I've chased him quite a few times through quite a few places. And she goes, well, this is what I do. So, just being able to learn, even as his parent, being able to learn different things about him and to get their perspective, they were so willing to share it with me, every day. And again, the communication was excellent. Note home, phone calls, emails. It was wonderful. I don't feel like I missed a beat.
Yeah. And I will say that as a teacher, my teaching assistants here in Texas, they call them paraprofessionals, but the individuals in my room were, like T said, they were the knight in shining armor. Like if they were not in my room, I don't know what I would have done.
What?
Yes, because I've had some who are not as receptive to following directions, and but thankfully that didn't last long. And the years that I taught, I had the best teaching assistants in my room. Like they were going with the flow, and like you said, like there were things that they knew about the kids that I didn't. Definitely they are so important when you have a classroom that's so diverse.
Yes, and I was able to see that firsthand. So shout out to Miss Farah. Some days I wonder where she at right now because I could use her.
Yeah, we actually, like, here when I was here in Texas, some of our paraprofessionals, which again they're teaching assistants, but they would like if the kid moved on and wasn't in their class, they would do babysitting for the parents, and they respite. That's what it's called, respite.
Oh, okay.
So the teaching assistants would provide respite for the parents, like privately. So they would go out of town because they knew that the kid knew them, and so they trusted them, with their kids. So they are very important people.
Yeah, that sounds like an excellent service. I wish that was around here, or I just don't know about it, which is something I need to look into because, yes, I would have to say that, he's entering the 2nd grade soon, but everyone that he's had nope, little exception to the rule there. But almost everyone that he's had has been just a godsend and just added layers to, this kid who's just become like this awesome little person.
Yeah. And see, they provide the respite care privately, so it wasn't through a company.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I need that.
They just kind of made, had an agreement with the parents. And I had one parent who didn't try, but asked me to go to Thailand with them to watch their son.
I would never think. Hey, Miss Farron, you want to go to Costa Rica with us?
Yeah, the mom was going to pay for my ticket, all my expenses for me to go with her son. And I was like, I'm not going to Thailand. Like, I mean, the timing was off. But yeah, and she ended up finding somebody, but she was like, we tried last year and it was not a good trip. And we all want to just have a good experience. She was like, he's fine on the plane. It's just when they get there, the same thing you were saying about the change in schedule.
Oh, yeah.
He struggled. And then something that I found interesting, they would ship over his food before he got there because he was a picky eater.
Oh.
And so they would mail his snacks and any food that they couldn't get there, they would mail it over before they left.
Oh, well, that's planning. Yeah.
Yes. So they were not playing around. They were going to take that trip, whether they had somebody or not. But she said they would prefer to have someone, and thankfully they did find somebody. But
well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And those are things that, we don't think about because it's like, okay, if I'm going to Florida, I'm just going to go to Walmart or to a grocery store and find their snacks. But if you're in another country that doesn't have it, then what are you supposed to do? Right. And then some foods are like regional.
Lots of parents have picky eaters, but when you add the layer of autism on it, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yes. And when you have like kids that eat things that are regional, so we have Whataburger that is not everywhere. So that adds another layer because it's like, what do you do if that's all they're going to eat? So now he's in second grade, or he's going into second grade this year?
He's going to second grade.
So what does your support system look like? So I know you're a single parent. But right now, do you have family that help? Is his dad involved? Like, where do you find the support?
So my biggest support is actually my sister. So she actually lives with us and she helps out tremendously because, I have to work, necessary evil.
Right.
So she's able to help me with those things that need to be done during the day and I'm not here, getting Shannon on the bus, making sure his shoes are on the right feet. He's got his book bag and his bus pass, and giving that initial communication she might have with the bus driver or, things like that. Mm-hmm. So tremendous, tremendous help. And I am beyond blessed. So, because I know some people don't have that and they have to rely on maybe help that they have to pay for, and that's a whole nother layer of stress. But I've never had that with Chan. I've always had, I've had my sister, and when Shannon was younger, my mom actually used to watch Shannon for me. But then once she started walking, she was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's over. So it actually has been pretty good with how our lives are set up with the help we have. And then I have my other sister who comes over, and Shannon just loves her beyond words. And and my dad is also a big help. Shannon loves when he comes over to hang out for a little bit. Pop has like a time limit he can do with Shannon. But the time they spend together, I know Shannon loves it. So
that's good.
I do have excellent help from my family.
Good. So I know you have lots of nieces and nephews. How were they around him? Like, are they aware that he has autism, or is it just more of like they just know he does things a little bit different than they would?
I think initially it's their understanding was, okay, he just does things a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
But as they so there's like groups of nieces and nephews. I got an older group and I got a younger group. So the older group, as they got older, you were able to explain to them that, Channing is on the autism spectrum, so this is why he does things a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the way they interact with him is, you couldn't like script it. It's very loving and caring, but yet is genuine. Like if he's doing something they don't like, they're going to tell him, "Stop!
Yeah.
I don't like that." And these are the things that he needs. He needs you to keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
So, these kids are just like walking little help manuals for him on how to be in certain situations. And sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
Like we went out shopping not too long ago. I'm not going to name the names of my nieces and nephews, but they know who they are. And just, how they were while we were out shopping. I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so glad Channing is my child. He is so well behaved. Him standing alone. It's like, oh my goodness, he's always done this. He's always done that. But I'm like seeing him in an environment with other children. You're like, wow, I have it really good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I am not going to complain anymore, sir. So it's very important as a parent that, you don't just stay in your bubble.
Yes.
What you're used to, you have to integrate yourself with the world, and not just your world, but his world too. So it's very important to be out where the people are.
Yeah.
So it was a great day. Maybe not for my nieces and nephew's mom, but it was a good day for us.
And I'm glad that you said that because it is very important that you don't isolate your kids because you don't want them to either have anxiety, or you yourself, you don't want to have anxiety from them being in certain places. So whether they have special needs or not, like you have to expose them to everything that you would anyone else. Taking them to the movies, taking them out to eat, taking them shopping. If you take a trip, they go on an airplane. Maybe you're afraid, but you have to do it. And the only way that you're going to be able to learn how to cope in those situations is to be in those situations. And it's very hard. Yeah, it's very hard. But you can't worry about everyone around you. It is about your child. If people are staring and looking, then they're staring and looking. But that in the end, your child is going to be able to do this again and not have these behaviors, possibly not have these behaviors again. So, screw everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's my thing. Like, Channing and I, we will go out for lunch together at a restaurant, not a drive-through place. We're going to go sit down at this table, and we're going to have good table manners, and we're going to order, and we're going to sit down, we're going to have a meal. Mm-hmm. So there are some times where it's not necessarily what he wants to do, but we work through it.
Yeah.
I have to go out and run errands, so there are times you have to come with me. And that's most of the time, actually. So, these are things we have to do. We have to be amongst the world. And I can't keep him, sheltered away. That's not healthy for him. It's not healthy for the people who are out there. They need to see this. This needs to be something that you recognize and are aware of as a human being. So,
right.
Yeah. Can't stay in the house.
Exactly. So I know you talked about your family helping you. How is his dad with everything? Like when he found out and going forward?
See, I thought I sidestepped this subject, but I did not. So, okay, Lord, give me the words. It's almost like he's non-existent. Not almost. It's like he's non-existent. So I raised Channing on my own with my family support. How may I help you? What do you need? Okay, let's go see. So, I don't even know how to put this without cussing. So, yes, I raised Channing on my own. I don't know what his interest level in Channing is. I think I might be dealing with something else going on there internally with him, but it's not conducive to what I'm trying to do for my son. So I don't push it. He comes sometimes, like he just saw him maybe a few weeks ago after a couple years, and that was would you may you help me, please? Okay.
Good job.
So he just came to visit him a few weeks ago after almost 2 years. It might be a little over, but yeah, almost 2 years. And so, we're doing our thing out and about because it's a Sunday. So, I have to get ready for the week. Mm-hmm. We're back to work now. So I get a text message while I'm driving. Well, my car answers the text message that I'm driving. I don't know this number. So I get another text message. Car answers again. So then I get a phone call. But guess who has my phone, as usual, watching YouTube. So when I pull over, you see the message, basically, I'm here. I want to see Channing. And it's like little stuff like that irritates me. It just kind of feels like it diminishes what I'm trying to do for our son. Like there's no planning involved. There's no consideration shown. So I cut short what I wanted to do that day, and I turned around and I made arrangements for him to visit. So I have this thing where if I feel like you don't mean me any good, you're not welcome in my home. Like you can't come in here because I don't want you bringing your vibe up in here. I got a good vibe going. I want to keep it like that.
Right.
So I was like, look, it was a decent looking day. You can meet him in the backyard. You can play. There's all types of stuff back there. You guys can go play. And so he's asking me, well, can I take him out? And I'm thinking to myself, you literally have not seen him in 2 years. That's like sending my child off with a stranger. It's not like it is sending my child off with a stranger. So, but when you have court orders and things involved and you want to be flexible, I don't want to dictate my son's relationship with his father, but at the same time, I need to protect my son knowing that he is, has autism spectrum disorder. And, there's a million different things going on in your mind. So trying to balance those in the moment is just, it's exhausting actually. But, so anyhow, I told him, they could meet in the backyard, and he asked, can I take him out? I'm like, look, fine. If he goes, fine. So, yes. Which one is this? This? Yes. Okay. So, my son goes outside in the backyard, and he looks at this man, and he looks at me, and my son does not look happy. So he's leaning up against the house, and he takes off. And so, his father's standing there looking at me. I'm like, go after him. He's literally, this kid is like Carl Lewis. He's ready to run into the street. Yeah. Go after him. So I dart back through the house, but there's my son standing on the front porch. I guess, He's like, nah, I'm not running into the street. I just, I want to come back in the house.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
I let him back in, and he's not happy. He's not saying a lot of words, but he's pointing and he's kind of yelling at me. So I didn't, think that as, this is something I don't want to do right now. Don't make me do it. But it's just a hard thing to juggle and to balance, especially when I just feel like there's just like some type of disorder going on. I'm not like a psychologist, so I don't want to be diagnosing people, but when you see something, you see it and you can't unsee it. So it's very hard, and it's probably like the worst part of doing what I'm doing is knowing who I don't even call it co-parenting, because that's not what we're doing. It's like some type of I'm parenting and I don't know what this is. So, yeah, I don't even know if that answered your question. I feel like I went around the world.
No, it's fine. So, okay. When was he ever in his life, like as a baby?
So that is another... No, I'm just straight up no.
Okay.
So I had been pregnant before, and I actually lost that child. That child was stillborn.
Okay.
So when I was pregnant with Shannon, this was a high-risk pregnancy. Everything was planned to the T. Mm-hmm. So my doctors told me, you will not deliver this child, the regular way. You're going to have a C-section. She's like, even if you go in labor, you're going to have a C-section because you don't want the added trauma to the baby.
Right.
So it's a planned C-section. This is a date I know about, and at least at this point, it had to be like 2 months in advance. I share this information with his father, and I'm like, okay, well, I have to go schedule myself to, be a patient at the hospital, and there's these bracelets they're handing out. And one of the bracelets is for the other parent. Are you going to be there? Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm like, okay, because, I'm having a C-section. This is surgery. I'm going to need help. Yeah, I'm going to be there. Was he there? No, he was not. Okay. But, I called and, like, hey, where are you? Oh, I'm not going to be able to make it. Like I invited him to a cookout. No.
Oh, goodness.
This is, your son being born. This has been in the works. This was a planned event for the past couple of months. And so like, you're not going to make it. That right there, I think, I think mentally, I just cut him out.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a survival mode for me. I couldn't be thinking about what he's doing and be my son's mother. It was not going to work trying to do both things. And I chose my son that day, and I've never looked back.
Good. So when he found out that your son was on the spectrum, what was that conversation like? Or does he even know?
Yes, he does know. He does know. Initially, what would you like me to do? Sit down. Sit down? Okay, I can do that. So, early on with Channing, I always told him about doctor's appointments via email. I would lay out very detailed, this is the appointment we went to, this is what happened, this is what the doctor said, this is what the doctor recommended. So when the doctor... Do you hear him singing?
Yeah.
So when the doctor recommended the early intervention, this is something I'm telling you. So, but here's the thing. There's no formal diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder until about 4.
Okay.
So even though we know something is kind of, there's a mystery here, but we can't solve it because we don't have a name to put to it. We weren't able to put a name to it until he had the formal diagnosis when he was 4, and that was like November of 2018 or something like that.
Okay.
So I shared that information, and just, it's kind of like you felt like he was picking and choosing what he wanted to digest and understand.
Mm-hmm.
So he would ask me, like, don't you think something's going on with him? Like, these are the things I'm telling you. I know something is going on. This is why he's in early intervention. This is why we go to this appointment. So I don't know what it is yet. I'm not a pediatrician. I'm not a specialist of any sort. I'm just doing what is the best practice for my son.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I'm telling you, but it was just weird. Like you almost want to kind of blame me or make me look like I'm a derelict parent or something like that. And like, I know that's the furthest thing from the truth, but when you're dealing with someone who's not based in reality, it's very hard to communicate. And it was just, it's just so stressful. I could just think about the emails that I've sent him, long emails about this appointment and that appointment, and getting a response of just like, all right, or okay, or no response at all.
Right.
Like, okay.
Now, does he live near you? Because I heard you say like he was saying that he was in town. So does he live anywhere near y'all?
No. He actually lives out in the Midwest. So, which is actually, for me, I'm very comfortable with that. But don't mock mommy. but for my son. Hey, say hi, Miss E. Say hi.
Hi, Channing.
But for my son, it's definitely a barrier to building any type of relationship is the distance, and I understand that, and I see that. But it's harder for me to digest when you can see that you can make time and arrangements to do everything else you want to do, except see him.
Right.
So I don't have a lot of, I don't know, what do you call it, compassion or understanding for that, because I know what it takes to be here for Channing, and when you don't see that, it's just like, I don't have time for this. I really, really don't. So I stopped sending those emails about the long appointments. I would just basically tell him this is the appointment he went to on this day. I'm not writing book reports anymore. So once I stopped, this information that you really didn't seem to care about, then you're demanding it, and you're critiquing that. Well, you're not telling me anything. You're not letting me know what's going on, and you're doing this and you're not doing that. So I was like, what do you want me to do? When I write you a book report, you don't even respond or acknowledge that you understand what's going on. And one of the reasons why I know you understand what's going on, because every time you've ever come here, you always have to ask me what his allergies are. I've committed, you would think you would commit your child's allergies that are life-threatening to memory. Like, I still remember what you're allergic to.
Yeah. And even if you don't,
nephew, I know what not to serve him. His mom doesn't have to tell me he's allergic to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
This is stuff I need to know.
And even if it's not something you memorize, you have a phone. Like, you can write a memo. Yes, you can. This can be stored. This is information that's not, you know what I mean? Yeah.
There are ways that you can, but I don't know what it is. I don't know how to color it, but I've seen things like on the internet. I've read some, I don't know if it's clinical or not, but it's very like narcissistic.
Okay.
That I'm dealing with. It's very like narcissistic tendencies that's going on here. And it's hard to really know which way is up when you're dealing with somebody like that. You never know when they're going to get ready to explode. You don't see it coming.
Right.
So like I said, I stopped with the book reports, and he's critiquing the, just the basic information stuff. So finally, like one day, he's like, Raptor. He's asking me, well, just give me a list of his doctors and their phone numbers, and I'll call them myself. I mean, maybe, I don't know if he thought he was punishing me, but that was like the best thing ever. I wrote that list up so fast. I gave them phone numbers, fax numbers, emails. Here you go. Thank you for freeing me, because it's like, this is not something I want to waste time on. I have things to do.
Yes.
So that was one of the best things ever. So, there's other things where, he said, I would tell him, like, you need to talk to him. You need to call him. I set up these apps you wanted me to set up to communicate with him, and you don't use them. So, like I said, you don't see when the fire's getting ready to come. So it's like, I don't need you to tell me when to talk to my son. I don't need your help. I'll do it on my own. Like, sir, do you remember our son has like a language delay?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna need some assistance. So I said, okay, that's freedom giving number 2. You don't need my help. I'm gonna need you to remember you said that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this, with my child. This is not a game. So he told me he didn't need my help. I stopped helping. I'm not going to tell you that you should call him or talk to him. I'm not going to do that. But so I don't know. Maybe it's aging and memory loss, but sure enough, can you set up something where I could talk to him? Sir, hello. You don't want my help, remember? So, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible how the goalpost is always moved. And it's just when you layer in everything else, like life, it's not a place you want to be. So hopefully, to any other parent out there, who's doing this on their own with a child with special needs, I mean, hopefully your support system is strong enough that you don't have to deal with anyone like that, but you never know.
Yeah.
But it's the one thing that I learned, and what really brought it to the forefront for me. My girlfriend, Dira, she wrote this little workbook. It's all about the redo, the remarry. It's all about the re.
Mm-hmm.
So started working in the workbook, and it really helped me focus on, what's the point here? Why am I doing what I do? Why do I get up and go through these motions every day? So it's like the first page is like, what's your why? I'm like, oh, that's easy. It's my son. This is why I go deal with criminals at my job. This is why I tolerate what I do. This is why I pay taxes. It's everything comes back to him. So just focusing on him really has helped deal with the other parent.
Yeah. When he went back to the house, like their front door, and came in the house, how did his dad react to that?
How did his dad react to that?
Mm-hmm.
Because he just kind of plopped on the front porch, and he didn't try to engage with him or to. There was just no trying to connect. I gave him his helmet. I was like, hey, why don't you go show. Go show your dad this. Go show him Blue. Go show him your helmet. So he took the helmet, and he took it out there, and they started playing.
Oh, well, that's good at least.
Yeah, they started playing. So I'm like, okay, great. So I'm sitting down at the table working on my workbook, and my phone goes off. It's a text message. Oh, I took Shannon, and we're going to the zoo.
Oh, my goodness.
You give me this information through a text message. You just started playing 3 minutes ago, and then you leaving a card, but just say a prayer and hope everything works out. So they brought my son back in one piece. And I say they because here's the kicker. So he hadn't seen my son in 2 years, but when he came, he brought his girlfriend. It's like, oh, can my girlfriend? I'm like, fine, she go in the backyard too. This is fine. If it's okay for you to bring yet another new person, because don't forget, you're new too.
Right.
Another new person to introduce to your son, that's fantastic that you think it's okay. So fine, you all go in the backyard and Cham's going to come on out. So I guess they all went to the zoo, and he would like text me different things where he was taking them throughout the day, fine. And then he brought him back, and he hasn't asked about him since. So to me, there's no sincerity. There's no, I don't understand the disconnect. So I'm like, I don't know if that was a show, who was the audience. I don't know what was going on here.
Yeah.
So, so he has an iPad, my son does, and I set it up where his father could FaceTime him. And he tried maybe 4 or 5 good attempts to FaceTime him back in like 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I'm like, do you understand that, Channing has special needs? Like, you can't do things a handful of times and think it's going to click. You have to be consistent and do it over and over and over again.
Right.
So don't just throw in the towel because he's not answering when you call. Did you ever think about him doing something? You don't ask, like, what's the best time of day to try to talk to him? Everything is for your convenience, and nothing is for Channing's convenience, and that's just not going to work.
Yeah. Have you created like kind of boundaries where it's like, okay, the only way you're going to see him is if I have advance notice, or?
Well, that's actually in our court order. So,
okay.
The court order, reads that I need 2 weeks notice of the date that you're going to come to visit Channing. The court order reads that you're supposed to provide me an itinerary of things you're supposed to do. This judge was so detail-oriented with this court order. I've never seen anything like it before. He actually gave, between the ages of 2 and 3. It says this is how far back it's going. Between the ages of 2 and 3, your visitation is 5 hours each day. And then 3 and 4, it goes up to 7 hours each day. And it went on and on up until a point where Channing should be able to go and visit with him out of state, like at the age of 8, between 8 and 10.
Okay.
But this was a step progression type of thing that hasn't been followed. So it kind of puts me in a bind. Well, maybe I'm within, my right to prohibit some things because you're not following the order as it's detailed. But, do I really feel like you calling me names for 2 hours because I decide to follow what's been laid out for us? So
right.
I don't have to listen to what the courts are saying, even though he's the reason why we went to court. I was living my life. So, I don't even know how to explain it. This is laid out. It's in black and white, and you don't want to do it. It's not that you can't do it. Obviously, you can, because I don't know any airplane that takes off from an airport without an itinerary or a flight plan. So
right.
It's not like you're just,
right.
Jumping in something that's not scheduled. So you know things, parts of what's going on. You just don't want to be held to them, or you don't want to share them, and whatever. But if I stick to what I'm supposed to do, it's a problem. And again, I'm being called names and cursed at, and it's through email, which is ultimately how I look, you can't call me. You can't text me. You're going to have to email me, because I need to be able to be in a right frame of mind when I read this stuff, because I can't be going berserk.
Yeah.
So these emails were just awful. And for a time, he would it's almost like he would try to pull me into these extended arguments that would last for days. And then one day I was like, what am I doing? This is not what I want to do. I don't want to go back and forth with you. I'm here doing the work.
Right.
So if you want to argue, you're going to have to finish this one with yourself. I'm not participating. So when he gets into oh, you're insane or you're crazy or, you just, one time he would just call me boss lady through 15 exchanges. So I'm like, I can't do this. So when the email chain starts to get nasty, I disconnect. I'm not responding. Not that I don't have things to say. Not that I, defending myself is not the most important thing right now. My peace is.
Yeah, absolutely.
My peace helps me parent, and you can't ruin that.
Yeah.
So.
I hear that.
So
And that is usually the goal, to make you feel as terrible as they do.
And that's what I was trying to say. I think you want me to feel as awful as you do about the things you haven't done.
Yeah.
And so, I remember this one, oh man, I was livid. So Channing's fingernails grow like wildfire. I mean, they grow. So, but I've learned, being with him, that, you're best to cut his fingernails when they're wet. You can really shape them nice and everything, and it doesn't hurt. Most importantly, it doesn't hurt because they're wet. So he had taken him for a visit. This might be at this point 3 years ago, and brought him back with bruised thumbs from where he had cut his nails dry. And you know how your grandma would say, you cut them down to the quick. You shouldn't cut them that low. He cut my baby's nails down to the quick. I was livid because I feel like the only reason you did it was to point out that I didn't do it.
Right.
But you don't know how it's done. So instead of you bringing it to my attention, I think his nails are a little long, or, you might want to clip them. You do this to him, just disregarding that maybe you hurt him, because Shannon doesn't know you. So I know he's not going to express discomfort to you because there isn't that relationship there.
Right. Yeah.
So he'll tell me in a quick, ow, you hurt me. Let go of me. So, I know he didn't do that to you. So, and your mission to show that I'm a bad mom, you hurt my son.
Right.
And I can't let that slide. So I think that is probably the first and last time I lost it.
Yeah.
I lost it. You don't do that.
Right. Your son is not a competition piece between the two of you.
Exactly. I'm I think that's what it is. For a while, he was so hung up on the fact that, you're just a first-time parent. I've been doing this. Well, that's fine, but you haven't done this. You haven't, parented a child with special needs. You don't know this child.
Right. Exactly.
So, bravo, you parented, but now I want to know what's the extent of that parenting, because I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just been a long, long haul, and probably the only thing that really has kept me going is watching the progress that Shannon makes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It is amazing. This past summer when he started writing his name, first and last name, and his speech therapist at the school, we would have some appointments there from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
So one day she had, well, you need to turn that down, buddy, because I can't hear Miss Isha. Can you turn it down? No, you can't do that either? Okay.
You did
I'm going to
ask.
sit over here. Yes, I did. So, his speech therapist had him writing his name on one of those whiteboards. Mm-hmm. And I guess he didn't like the way he was doing his N. So he erased it and did it again. And she was like, oh, my God. So there's no other way to describe it. It's just, he amazes me with how far he's gone and the stuff he knows. Like, he'll count with me to 100. Right. I'm like, oh, I thought you could only count to 13.
Yeah.
So when I look at that and all that he does and all that I know he can do, mm-hmm. It outshadows everything and all the crazy that comes from the other parent.
Yeah.
It really does. It does. So if parents out there are like me and they're having this struggle, I mean, just look to your child, look to your children, and just stay focused on them, and everything else will fall into place. Like, honestly, I think he's maybe even like pulling himself out of this scenario because it's not working for him anymore. He's not getting that satisfaction of me getting upset.
Yes.
Because I think that's what it is. Like, I like it when you're mad and I'm mad too. But I don't think he's not getting that from me anymore, that energy. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's less and less. Like I could check my MySpace account and probably have more messages than I do from him regarding what's going on with, house chanting or anything like that. So
yeah,
I'm like, okay, it's working. So
yeah, it's a form of control. I mean, when you feel like, playing with someone's emotions and what's going to trigger them, then they keep doing it. And my phrase always was, you're poking the bear. Like, you're doing it on purpose. And in my situation with my ex-husband, I would tell him, like, you're poking the bear on purpose.
Yeah.
Because you want me to react. You want me to go off. You want me to go out of character. You want me to get upset because that's where you are right now. It might not even be me that you're upset about, but you're bringing me in so that now I'm mad too.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I don't I don't need to be in this space.
Yep. And it's one of those things that when you realize what's happening and you just put a halt to it, it's like very empowering because it's like you see them, their whole demeanor changes, their whole behavior changes, and it's like you knew what you were doing this whole time.
Exactly, and you could see it. Like he was just very like I don't want to say like meek or even. He was just very bewildered. I don't think he knew how to take me that last time he came over here. Like, if you're okay, I'm okay. But guess what? I'm going to be okay anyway. So hopefully you can get okay. Because this is what's going on around here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it is empowering. And for when I decided, like, I'm not doing this anymore, I felt like a weight lift off of me. It was very freeing, and
absolutely.
I just, I have a whole list of signs to look out for, like, immediately, I mean, especially because when everything started before, the babies and everything else, like, I felt like I was the greatest thing in the world. And, like, I'm the best. Nobody's ever done it like me before, and nobody ever will. And then all of a sudden I wasn't that person anymore. Yeah. So it conditions you to, like, accept these highs and lows. Mm-hmm. And, like, I'm not built to have highs and lows and be on shaky ground and walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I don't know how I did it for as long as I did.
Yeah, because you don't realize it and you just feel
Yeah,
like
that's why.
this is just the situation that I'm in and it's going to get better and you're going to, realize what you're saying or what you're doing and everything's going to be fine tomorrow or something.
And it would be fine for like a hot minute, and then it goes back to horrible. And working in the workbook, I'm like, wow, I feel like I might have like PTSD or something, because it almost feels like maybe I do, and well, I got to work through this because I can't be like this, and
Yeah.
I got to refocus this energy. I got to refocus my, regain my power. There's things that I need to do, and I need to do them now. And so this workbook, I'm glad I got this.
Yeah.
Look how it's turned around and blessed me on the back end. I'm like, I'm so glad I got this, and I'm working in it. And
so now what's the name
really
of what's the name of the workbook and like where can people find it? Because
I'm sorry. Hold on, let me grab my workbook. It's all about the re. It's Journaling to Get My Damn Mind Back, a self-healing workbook by Alcadera Cox.
okay.
So I know that she's on Instagram. Like if you look up Dira Cox on Instagram, she's you can probably easily find a link to get the workbook. This past 18 months, it's been a blessing and sometimes a curse.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing. I've been my son's teacher.
Okay.
So you get that perspective.
Yeah.
So I've been like the teacher, the lunch lady, the recess aide, So you're like, okay, you get to know him from a different angle. So that was great.
Yeah.
But then, you go through this isolation because, okay, we're not, we're inside the house. There's nothing open. Very little's open. If it is open, you don't want to go there. So this has been quite a time. So.
And how did he handle COVID? Like,
ooh, he actually did better than me.
okay.
So he was able to adjust to the homeschooling. And I noticed a difference between the end of his first grade year homeschooling and the full year the end of his kindergarten homeschooling and the whole entire first grade year that he had. So there was a change in him, and it was a good change. And it's like he took an interest in the things that were going on. He took an interest in some of his classes. He really liked art, with Miss Mercacci. He really liked Spanish because she would pick these cute little songs that we could sing. So he adapted, and really, at the end of the day, that's a win. For parents out there, there are resources. You might have to do a little digging depending on where you live.
Yes.
But I found an awesome resource with a hospital system that's based out of Delaware, Nemours. It used to be DuPont, but now it's Nemours.
Oh, okay.
And there's everything under the sun available.
Yep.
And there's this thing they call ABCs. It's an appointment that I have as a parent every week on adaptive behavioral supports.
Oh,
and how,
good.
as a parent, how I can learn how to do things, how I can plan ahead and, help Channing help himself. So, and it has, I think, that's something that has definitely changed my life around here. Because it's like I sometimes felt like I was banging my head against the wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. I got to find somebody because I'm not going to be able to help him if I don't change my point of view. Yeah. I got to start here because, he's the child. He's the one who's learning. So I go to my appointments every week faithfully. And, she helps me work through different situations. And different, regular, everyday things that he has to do. It's great. So parents, do your homework, do a little digging. If you're on social media, there's lots of great pages that you can join and follow. Mm-hmm. And I think No More's might actually have a page, but, Autism Speaks is a great one, and they're always throwing up resources and things like that. So you have to, do some legwork and, figure some things out.
Yep. And if, whenever this pandemic slows down, joining a parent group is always helpful too. Just because, it's good to be able to vent to people who understand where you're coming from and don't feel that you're, overreacting to things or that you're not being understanding. I know a lot of parents who feel like parents of parents of typical children judge them as if they are supposed to be like saints and never get frustrated or annoyed or bothered when they talk about things that their kids are doing. So it's good to have a parent group of individuals who understand where you're coming from.
Oh, yeah, I could agree with that. And like you said, when it's safe to do these types of things again, that's definitely something I know I could benefit from.
Yeah.
Because, it's great to connect to other moms. But like you said, if, you have a child who's developing typically and I don't, sometimes things aren't always going to mesh.
Right.
So it's very important. So,
and they may have them now virtually. We do a lot of things with our Parent Connect that are virtual. Mm-hmm. So that may just be another thing that you just kind of look into, something where you can pop in whenever you want, on Zoom or something like that.
Yeah, that's definitely worth looking into. It's always good to have just that extra layer of support. Absolutely, it really is. Yeah. You think, though, well, that's too much. Nah, you can always use extra support. Always. Yeah.
And I think, too, not just for single parents, even parents who are together, moms are different than dads. So going to a group that's for moms or going to a group that's for dads is beneficial because there are things that a dad feels that a mom won't understand, and there are things that a mom feels that a dad won't understand.
Absolutely.
So, finding groups for moms and for dads, whether you're single or not, is really beneficial as well because, there are, again, when you're venting or you're talking to people with, neurotypical kids, they're not going to understand what you're saying. And then in the same way, their gripes about their kids seem minuscule to yours. And so you don't understand where they're coming from either. So,
yeah, that's 100% right. So
this was a very thorough conversation about two very important topics to me, especially coming from the teacher side of working with kids on the spectrum. So hearing from a parent talking about relationships and support and things that are important, I think it will help a lot of people. I definitely appreciate you being very transparent about talking about these topics. I'm sure that they will help someone who is going through something similar to come out of it. I am going to get the information for the workbook, and I'm going to tag it on my page as well as on my website, just so people will be able to utilize that as well, because I think that taking those steps to really centering yourself are important no matter what's going on in your life. So. All right. Well, do you have any parting words before we end today?
Like, if you're out there and you're doing this as a single parent or doing this as a couple, you can really do this. You can really do this. Just get your plan of action and one day at a time.
Absolutely. Well, again, Tabitha, thank you so much for having this discussion with me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap on another amazing episode. I know that you were just as inspired as I was after listening to that conversation. And to let us know how we're doing, don't forget to leave us a review, like, share, and follow the podcast. Also, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at The Black Girl Blogger and check out our website, www.theblackgirlblogger.com. And the most important step, make sure you share the podcast with someone you know and tell them to share it with someone they know. And if you know someone who has an amazing story to tell, or if you yourself would love to tell your story, leave us a message on our website or any of our social media platforms so we can reach out to you and have you on the podcast. Until next time, peace out.